What is up, my friends? You are very welcome along to Sunday evening's Anfield Agenda News Roundup. The preview for the Real Madrid game will be coming out tonight at 9 p.m. We're taking the day off live content to catch a bit of a rest, so that video will be out at 9. Until then, I'm going to give you my take on yesterday's win. Ask the question, was it worth the sacrifice of going out of the League Cup midweek? And of course, we do want to know your thoughts, so feel free to let us know in the comment section of any of the topics we discuss what your opinion is. If you enjoyed this video, please do hit that like button, and of course, we'd love you to subscribe. So look, I'm going to give you my thoughts first of all. Was it worth it? I still really don't know, but what I will say is, and I will give the manager his fair dues on this one, he got the result that he wanted. So whether we liked going out of the League Cup or not, it did have the desired effect. Anfield stood up, the players stood up, the manager made a selection that he felt could get the job done, and it did. And for that, I've got to say, I as a fan feel a huge sense of relief, and I'm sure the players, the manager, and all Liverpool fans around the world do. I probably got to say it's a personal choice whether you think it was worth it or not. I still believe probably could have had a few stronger players on the bench, but ultimately, it is what it is. We are where we are. We wanted a result, we got the result, and I thought it was a very good performance as well. There are still things, of course, that we want to get better, but the press, which is so important to the way that we play, was there. And most importantly, the players gave the fans something to react off inside that stadium, whether it was crunching tackles, whether it was just 100-mile-an-hour football and top effort. You can see that Anfield feeds off that. So all in all, I think it was a great result yesterday against a team that, let's not forget, did come to Anfield in form. They had beaten Manchester City, they had beaten Spurs away, and they came, I think, maybe unbeaten in 7, if my memory's right, and left with their tail between their legs. So over the course of this video, we're going to give you some takes from what the manager has said, what our captain has said, Connor Bradley, and then we'll talk about one particular take from Dominic King that I think I actually quite like, to be honest with you. And I'm somebody who's had a couple of back and forths with Dominic King, but I'm always somebody who wants to credit people for good work. And I really did like a little bit of what he wrote about the game. So look, let's get stuck into it. And we'll talk firstly about Mohamed Salah and that milestone he reached of 250 goals for one club, which is absolutely incredible. Our manager has had something nice to say about it as well, and this is what Arne said. It is huge. It's almost unbelievable. 250 for one club. You don't see this much in football anymore. Apart from the goal he scored, he had a very good performance, which he did. We were at pains to say, even at 0-0, Mo looked sharp. He looked like he was at his old self last night. And same with Dominic Szoboszlai. Absolutely ran the show in the centre of the park. Delighted. Very relieved, and I said this into our WhatsApp channel yesterday. It was for the first time in a long time that I'd been able to watch Match of the Day and actually look forward to it, which I very much did. Enjoyed every second of it. In fact, rewound it and watched it twice, to be honest with you. So, yeah, delighted with that one. Salah speaking about his 250th goal for the club as well, to reach the landmark after Roger Hunt and, of course, Ian Rush said, "It's a great feeling to score goals and win trophies for such a big club. It is something I don't take for granted. I'm so proud. I'm so happy about it." Now, I have to say, I didn't like some of what I heard from our captain last night after the game. Some of his post-match comments, again, talking about outside noise, I really didn't appreciate as a fan. But he did start to put a little bit more context on that, and particularly he seems annoyed by the likes of Wayne Rooney, who was criticising his leadership, and this is what Van Dijk's had to say about media reaction. I've heard the reports as well about Arne Slot being under pressure and stuff, but I don't think we play at a club that do the rash decisions. We all felt, and I think you can all agree on that we can work our way out of this. And look, there's no fault in Virgil saying they can work their way out of it, but they do have to realise, in my opinion, that you are there to be praised when you need to be, and you are there to be held to account when you need to be. And football players live in a bubble of yes men that surround them all the time, and it's important that fans do have a platform to have their say. Now, of course, I understand that there are people who go to the extremes on all of these things, but most of the fan base live in the middle, where yes, we may disagree on some things, we may critique a performance on another, but I think losing 6 out of 7, it is completely understandable that certain sections of the media, certainly certain sections of our own fan base, have every right to ask what on earth is going on and how is this happening. That being said, we all did want them to work their way out of it, and this is one step on that process. And fingers crossed, we can back it up with a good result against Real Madrid on Tuesday, and then, of course, a difficult game coming up against Manchester City on Sunday. Also, from our captain, he said this: I know that if we have not the best results and not great performances, then myself and the manager will definitely always be questioned. That's part and parcel. But he says this, but then complains about the same criticism. I don't understand it. Like, it's contradictory, and look, we're all hypocrites at times. I certainly am. But it is natural. It doesn't come into the realms of hate from most people. Of course, there are idiots that are loud on social media, but I would question their fandom one way or the other, because if we win, everything's great. If we lose, then get out of my club type of attitude just doesn't work. And look, people are critical of me and my calling out of players at times, but you don't hear the words "get out of my club" or anything like that from me. I call it as I see it. And 6 losses in 7 games at Liverpool Football Club is always unacceptable. But we all had faith and wanted them to work their way out of it. And thankfully, we're in that process and everybody's happy about it. He said, I want to perform. That's part and parcel of football. I want to perform, not to myself, but for the team, for the club. When there are difficult moments, I try to help my teammates when things don't go well, and that's the world we live in, and people question loads. Well, yes, of course they do, Virgil. People go in, week out, people pay for their TV subscriptions. But what I would say is, and, as an overseas or non-every match going fan, this, isn't really something I say too much, but the fans inside Anfield, whatever you think about the outside noise, whatever you think about, people like me even having an opinion, the fans inside Anfield always back that team, always sing the manager's name, always sing the captain's name, always back those players through thick or thin. So I don't really understand why he's still poking at this bear when I have to say the match-going fans, home and away, are only ever 100% behind the manager and the players. Always will be, always have been. And I don't think that they should escape this without getting the praise that I think they truly deserve. Virgil on Wayne Rooney, criticising his leadership, said, I didn't hear him last year. He's obviously a legend, a big player of the game who inspired so many, but I feel that comment is just a bit of lazy criticism. So, again on that one, he said, I didn't hear him last year. Well, I guarantee you I can find 2 or 3, maybe 4 quotes last year from Rooney or others praising Virgil's leadership. Because when things are going well, you get praised. When things aren't going well, questions get asked. That's a natural process. And again, I think we need to be very careful here about what we are saying is over the top and what isn't. Because, of course, when you're winning things, when you're leading people to a league title, I guarantee you Rooney has praised them last year. I guarantee you Neville has praised them last year. Carragher has praised them last year. BT or TNT Sport would have. Certainly all of the fans have. It's just about that balance, and nobody should be above genuine critiquing. You've got to be able to do that. Right, Conor Bradley, he's been saying this about the importance of our pressing, and I'm so glad he brought this up because, hand on heart, our pressing is a huge part of our identity, and last night that was one of the things, certainly in air chat and conversations I had afterwards, that people were relieved to see back, because when the press is there, our performance level usually lifts with it. So, Conor Bradley said, I think it suits us better. Whenever teams try to play out against us, our press is one of the best things we can do. It suited us a lot better tonight, and I thought the press was magnificent right from the front with Hugo Ekitike and Mo and us lads backing it up from the back. It was brilliant, and I think it set the tone for the game. 100% agree. It was there, it was impressive, and it led to a goal and it led to mistakes. So well done. The boys sniffed blood and they went for it. Fair play. Hopefully we can do that a little bit more. Now, Aston Villa, there's been this kind of conversation that maybe Aston Villa played into Liverpool's hands and played the way we like to play rather than sitting back, going direct and long. And look, ultimately, teams have their way of playing. Unai Emery is a very good tactician, but whatever happened last night, I just feel Liverpool would have won that game regardless, however Villa would have went to play, because it felt like everybody was there to prove a point. The players, the manager, the people inside the stadium, everybody was connected. It was great to see. It was great to sit back and watch, and fingers crossed there's more of that coming. So I mentioned at the start of the video that there was one thing from Dominic King of the Daily Mail that I wanted to bring up because, like I said, I call out journalists when I don't like their work and when I think it's nonsense. Happy to praise them as well for the same stuff. And I really did enjoy reading this little bit from Dominic where he said, basically, the impact of the Anfield fans and a major mistake from Aston Villa. So he said, and this is obviously just a subsection of it, don't get them angry. Surely they should have known that. All Unai Emery would have wanted was for his players to turn Anfield into a doctor's waiting room filled with silence and tension, but instead they poked the bear. The game Liverpool dared not to lose became the game they gleefully won, fueled by the energy of a crowd that acted as a 12th man, bellowed approvingly of every thunderous tackle and hollering disdainfully of every perceived wrong decision. Villa walked wide-eyed into a trap and paid the price. I really enjoyed that. That's very emotive language there from Dominic, and I think summarised very well what we did see last night. So look, as I said, fingers crossed we can keep this going into the Real Madrid game. The preview for that game will be out tonight at 9 o'clock. Do let me know your thoughts on it in the comment section. We'll be back to our normal content tomorrow, video at about 4 o'clock. Mr. A.M. Crosby should be here as well earlier than that, and then we'll have a late night agenda stream tomorrow night. Until then, folks, have yourselves a wonderful Sunday. Thank you for all your support as always, and we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.